Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are looking at the sleep state from the second standpoint, which is from the standpoint of the lay person, not the Shastric understanding of sleep as an experience of oneness where everything returns, so to speak, to Sat. So that is where one is devoid of identification with various upadhis such as the body, mind, etc. So now we are looking at the second way in which sleep is understood by everybody in the universe. Who is everybody? Who is not studying Vedanta. They don't know, they have no idea of this kind of an enquiry. All they know is themselves is to be sick and tired all the time, and sick and tired of being sick and tired. They are just exhausted. And then the antidote to this exhaustion is universally agreed upon as sleep. And so, a sad metaphor and an apt metaphor is the bird either tied to the post with a string or held in the hand of the catcher, the bird catcher. And then we saw the verse, but we can repeat that. Sayatha Shakunihi Sutrena Prabadhaha Disham Disham Patitva Anyatra Ayatanam Alabdhva Bandhanam Eva Upashrayate Evameva Khalu Somya Tanmanaha Disham Disham Patitva Anyatra Ayatanam Alabdhva Pranameva Upashrayate Pranabandhanam hi Somya Manaha iti. We saw this example, just like the bird that is bound up in the string. What does it do? Disham Disham Patitva. It flies and falls. It flies and falls. Keeps on flying and then falls down in exhaustion, flies and falls, and then finally gets tired. So evameva, in the same manner, the jiva also keeps falling. The operative word is falling, meaning there is no control. Falling into wrong situations, falling into eternal finitude, constantly falling into finite situations and thinking this time it will be infinite, but it is not. So, several degrees and several marriages later, then finds out that this is not how infinitude is attained. That with grace operating over time, Bhagavan's grace operating over time, perhaps there will be the understanding that there is sadhana, sadhya, asambandha, a kind of a non-connection between the goal and the means adopted to gain the goal. So the means and the goal must be in alignment with one another, but here both in the case of the bird example and that who is exemplified, who is that? The jiva. There is just this aimless flying and then crashing. Crash, burn, that kind of a thing. Aimless flying. You take flight somewhere, disham, patitva, in every direction. Maybe one more marriage, then I'll be all right. And then fall. Fall in what? Love. That is what it is. And so there also, even when you say fall in love, it's like there is no control. There is no control. Why? The raga dveshas are pulling. They are pulling the jiva out of the connection with the sat. They are pulling the jiva outwards. And the Kathopanishad tells this very beautifully. What does it say? Paranchikhani, parak pashyati, na antaratmanam na pashyati. Because all the sense organs are facing outside, and so the world of duality becomes very, very attractive, and in that one is marinating, in that one is cooking, in that one is living, in that one is completely identified with. And so it is very difficult to get out of that, because those are the projections. One's own ragadveshas and the objects of those ragadveshas which are there at hand, easily objectifiable, easily, what is that, you can pluck and take it, it so looks like. But then after you pluck it, you find it has too many thorns. Whatever you plucked has too many thorns. And so like this, everything here is like disham patitva, so flying around aimlessly from job to job, from house to house, from spouse to spouse, from one thing to another thing, from place to place, without any control, led by the pressure of the ragadveshas that we were talking about in the earlier session. Led by the pressures, one is flying around aimlessly, and all this aimless flying around, aimless going to various pursuits, what does that give? Exhaustion. Why is the person mentally and physically exhausted? Because alabdhva, not gaining what they were looking for. What are they wanting? Just oneness with their source. What are they getting? The so-called oneness with everything but the source. So oneness with anatma, unless you know anatma is also atma, then it's different. But if you don't know that, then oneness with anatma is not going to give anything except a headache. And so therefore, like the bird, what happens to this bird? Everywhere it is flying aimlessly, and then it gets finally tired and appears to accept the terms of its bondage and takes rest exactly where it is bound, exactly where it is tethered. So too this jiva, here called very nice word, tanmanaha. So too this jiva, and we'll see why that is, Adi Shankara will explain. So too this jiva, tired of all this aimless forays into the world of objects, into the world of relationships, into the world of action, into the world of result of action. And with this, because of this constant engagement of all the karanas, which are what? Tired. The mind also is tired. Even more tired because there is nothing to show for it. At least, if one is exhausted, there is something to show for it. There is a sense of achievement. But here, there is nothing to show for it. And if there's nothing to show for it, the exhaustion is even more, because the whole thing appears futile. Like the bird trying to fly around is futile. And so therefore comes to rest in the same place as where one is tethered, the bird is tethered. And where is one tethered? The mind here is tethered to the prana. What is this prana also? We'll see. Prana is not the prana that we know, but the prana here is also devata, sad devata. So this prana is also devata. Prana is sadakhya para devata. It's going to be told. And so let us just look at the bhashya, very beautiful again, continuing from the earlier segue that was already made. So what does Adi Shankara say? Sayatha shakunihi. Shakunihi means pakshi. So shakuni ghatakasya hastagatena sutrena prabadha. So hastagatena sutrena, the sutra that is in the hand. Sutra means the string which is in the hand. Prabadha, prakarshena baddha, is definitely caught by the string of the who? The catcher of the bird. And similarly, what is that? And so what does it do as a result? Prabadha, don't think of it as tied up like that. Pashitaha, with the string tied up, whose leg is tied up here. What does it do? Disham, from one direction to another. What is it? What is this bird? Bandhana moksharthi. The bird is a mumukshu. Yeah, the bird is a mumukshu. And what is upalakshita? What is indicated by the bird is also what? Mumukshu. What is indicated by the word? The bird? Jiva. The jiva is also what? Mumukshu. So, bandhana moksharthi. So the jiva also flies around aimlessly, and like the bird, we can imagine when the bird flies around, it winds itself around a branch, and then the tether, the string becomes even shorter. It's on a shorter leash, or sometimes the leash itself gets entangled in itself, full of knots, etc. So all these things can happen. So similarly, the jiva going from place to place with various kinds of actions is caught and enmeshed in the very thing that they want to be free of. A very sad irony. So the jiva is also bandhana moksharthi. The bird is also bandhana moksharthi. With the jiva, we have to see that it is more of a upalakshana, not literally tied up. So moksharthi san pratidisham patitva. Pratidisham patitva. Falling. Falling means failing. That's what the falling is. Falling for the bird and then failing to free itself. And the jiva also looks for moksha where? In all the wrong places. All the wrong places one is looking for freedom. What else will happen? More bondage will occur. That's all it is. It's like the grandma who was searching for her embroidery needle that she had dropped. And then what happened? She's searching. Very soon, a small little crowd of helpers, sevaks, are also searching for the needle, and then they couldn't find it. Not easy to find a needle. Then somebody had the brilliance to ask, where did you lose it? I lost it in my house over there. Why are we looking for it here? Because my house has no electricity. Here we are sitting under a street light. So it's like that. Looking for moksha in the wrong places. What is the wrong place? Everywhere except centered on oneself. Centered on oneself is this freedom, because one is already free, and this has to be understood through a cognitive shift. So looking for something one already is the possessor of. One is already the possessor of this. And then even Bhagavan cannot help here, because you keep asking for something that you already have. Wide Pujya Swamiji's example of the man who said, "Oh Lord, please give me a head on my shoulders. What did the Lord say? Sorry, I cannot. Why? You already have one, although you are not using it, you already have one. I can give you side by side like a freak show. You can make some money out of people coming to see you. Or I can give double decker like our Indian buses, one on top of the other. Or I can give, what else is a possibility? Back to back. So you can confuse your friends whether they are coming or going. They don't know whether you are coming or going. I can give you these three options. I can give you another head, but I cannot give you a head. Why? You already have it. So therefore, this jiva even tries the patience of Bhagavan in this kind of a running around, looking everywhere except where the freedom already is. Centered on oneself is the notion of bondage. Centered on oneself is this freedom that one is looking for. And except there, everywhere this person is looking, disham patitva. Falling means failing to find it. That is the fall. The falling is failing to find it in the world of objects, events, relationships, etc., failing to find it, finally surrenders because of the exhaustion. Finally, let's go, at least for the time being, there's no other option. Because as we saw in the last bhashya, the eyes, the ears, etc., refuse to cooperate. Shramyati vak, shramyati chakshuhu. They all get tired and they just go on strike. We are not on this mad rush anymore. We are not going to do this. They get tired, and so here also the jiva runs around everywhere. What happens when runs around? Pratidisham patitva, failing in every direction. What is the direction? Pursuit. Failing in every pursuit to get what? The main thing they wanted. The jiva wanted what? Moksha. From a notion of bondage, gets everything but moksha, not recognizing the I as centered on this moksha, the I is free, not recognizing that, keeps using karma as a way to find it, thinks that this pursuit is action-based, keeps using action and then keeps on accruing various results of action. As a result, and those results of actions are acceptable or not acceptable? Not acceptable, because this is not what I want. And so since they are not acceptable, what do? 2.0, 3.0, let me try this, let me try that. And the frenzy increases. The frenzy keep increasing. Why does the frenzy keep increasing? Bandhana, patitva anyatra bandhanat ayatanam ashrayam vishramanaya alabdhva aprapya. Not gaining this freedom that one wants. Not gaining this freedom. The definition of freedom is also very amorphous. They don't know what moksha is, but there is a sense that there is a bondage and I want out of this. So everyone is a mumukshu, including the bird. Everybody is a mumukshu, but unrecognized mumukshutvam just morphs into endless karma phala loop. And the karma phala is received with raga and dvesha. It is not liked, or if it's liked, it needs to be replicated, and that is not possible. And so therefore, the person is constantly disappointed. And here, the pakshi succumbs to the bondage, at least for the time being. And so, what does it do? Bandhanam eva upashrayate. The pakshi succumbs to the bondage. What does the jiva do? Evameva, in the same manner, yatha ayam drishtantah, just like this example, he somya khalu Tanmanaha. Tanmanaha means Jivaha. Why? Jivaha is called Tanmanaha. Jiva is called Manaha. Why? He gives a very sound reason. He says, who is this Tanmanaha? Prakritam. Prakritam means we are, this is the person under discussion. Prakritam. And who is that? Shodashakalaha. Shodashakalam. Prakritam. And who is this? Annena upachitam, nourished by food. And we can't forget that. What is that? Annamayam hi manaha. Then, what is that? Tejomayi vak. Apomayaha pranaha. So, annamayam hi manaha. That's why it is called tan manaha, because the jivas, the main problem with the jiva is what? The mind. The mind that is refusing to accept that what you seek is right where you are looking for it, and you are what you seek. It's not understanding it, it's not looking there, it's looking elsewhere. And so therefore, tan manaha means the same person, it's not anybody else. Mr. Jiva or Ms. Jiva. And what is this Jiva? The one that was earlier described as Shodashakala Purushaha. The Purushaha having 16 kalas, and then was also earlier described as Annena Upachita, as having a mind that is nourished by what? Food. Annam. Annam is Upalakshana itself for earth. So nourished by earth, and then what else? And then the Shodashakala having 16 kalas, and then Manaha Nirdharitam. And so Manaha Nirdharitam means that which is the distinguishing characteristic of the jiva. The distinguishing characteristic of the jiva is what? The mad mind. So this mad mind, which doesn't know the connection between what went before and what's going to come now, and which is what? Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam. One day it decides, yes, I'm going to pursue moksha, I'm going to pursue Vedanta. And how long does that decision last? Anybody's guess. Yeah. Until the class is over. After the class is over, bye-bye. Bye-bye moksha. And then you ask the person, why did you stop studying? I got a lot of vairagya from Vedanta. That is the reason I stopped coming. So this is the one equipped with such a mind. The mind itself is both a blessing and a challenge. The Amrita Bindu Upanishad in the opening verse says, Manaha eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. It is the cause of bondage. And it is the vehicle for freedom as well. Depends on how you use it. And here the person is, fraught with this karma phala, not understanding the pursuit, uses action in place of cognition, knowledge. This moksha cannot be accomplished by action. Has to have knowledge. But then we are used to options. We like options. So many options. In India, we don't have these options. At least until recently, we did not have them. Nowadays, things are changing. But before that, breakfast was what was for breakfast. And if you didn't like it, you would eat lunch, which was for lunch. It's a thali culture. Everything comes. And then everything comes. There'll be one or two vegetables, there'll be some rice, there'll be some dal, everything comes. One sweet dish, everything is there. It's a choiceless culture. But enter the foreigner or enter if you go especially to a rural area or small town, and then you say, I don't, what is for breakfast? You ask, they say idli chutney. Can I just have the chutney and not have the idli? You can't do that. They will look at you as though, which planet have you come from? They will not understand that. And all this is upalakshana for this choicelessness in moksha. So this is the upalakshana for that. The culture itself bespeaks Vedanta. The culture itself prepares us for Vedanta. The entire set of norms, the entire world of religious disciplines and the everyday interactions, it primes up the person, prepares the person for Vedanta alone. There's no other option. There's nothing else to do except to gain this knowledge. But so therefore, the action and result of action itself is a loop, because when I unleash action based on certain choices, then what comes is result of action. Moksha is not a result of action, and in this matter, there are no options at all. No options are there. No, please, can you give me some other option of gaining self-knowledge other than study of Vedanta? Can you give me some other means for moksha other than study? Okay, says the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Yada charmavad akasham veshtayishyanti manavaha tada brahma avijnaya dukkhasyanto bhavishyati. Okay. Brahma avijnaya. Without knowing Brahman, you want moksha? Yes, please. All right. All you have to do is roll up space like a carpet. That's all. Take space, charmavat, like they used to have these, chilajina, deer skin, etc., of deers that had died a natural death, okay? And then the meditator used to roll that up and carry under the arm and go from place to place to maybe sit by the rock on the side of the river or something like that. And so, just like you rolled up the deer skin, similarly you roll up space. When you are successful in wrapping space and rolling up space as it were a carpet, then you are able to overcome sorrow without the self-knowledge, without Brahma Vidya. What does it mean? Impossible. Exactly. Impossible. Even the Upanishad is sarcastic. Okay? Yeah. It's trolling you. Yeah. And everybody was looking seriously. Okay, let's see. Let's put a plan in action. It's trolling you. Meaning this is just not possible. And this we have to understand. And that is how, in growing up in this choiceless culture, one somehow is prepared for this moksha, because there is no choice in it. It's a choiceless choice, as Pujya Swamiji would repeatedly point out. And so this tanmanaha, who is this tanmanaha? This annena upachitam, shodashakalam, prakritam. Prakritam means under mano nirdharitam, and the one that is having a mind, and then what? Not only having a mind, tat pravrishtaha, the one who has entered, as it were, this mind. Entered means what? Identified with this mind. Tatsthaha. Tatsthaha means still staying there, very much identified with this mind. Tad upalakshitaha. So this being the main characteristic of the jiva is called tanmanaha iti jivaha nirdishyate. And he gives a very sweet illustration. And what is that illustration? Mancha kroshanavat. Mancha is cot or a platform. In Hindi we say manch, platform. But here it can be cot. So when the cot is old, each time the person turns around, what does it do? Creaky noise comes. Each time. Okay? And so the people in the family are very used to this cot, and they make jokes about this cot by anthropomorphizing the cot and saying the cot is crying, the cot is wailing. Akroshana means wailing. The cot is crying. And we do this kind of a anthropomorphization and the displacement in many, many ways. And then, like for example, in Mumbai, when you go in the monsoon, and then what do you see? You don't see the people. What do you see? Umbrella, 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 umbrella. You don't see the holder of umbrella. And so what do you say? Umbrellas are coming. Umbrellas are not coming. People holding the umbrellas are coming. And so, so in this way, there is a displacement, because the main thing about the jiva, which is the complaining mind, is taken, and the jiva is said to be the one that is identified with this mind. So manchakroshanavath saha mana आख्य upadhi jivaha. This jivaha is the one endowed with this adjunct called manaha. Manaha includes buddhi, everything you have to take. Ahankara, chittam, and then what else? Manaha, buddhi, chittam, ahankara. Yeah, not chittam, the emotive faculty. All this, the one who is endowed with it, endowed is one thing, the one who is terribly identified with it. And that one is called jivaha iti uchyate. And then how does the jiva, what is the jiva's groove? How does the jiva move? So the jiva moves in accordance to avidya, kama, karma, upadishta. Upadishta means taught. So the jiva takes on a guru. What is the guru? Avidya. 3 gurus. Avidya, kama and karma are the gurus for this jiva. Makes the wrong choices. Who to listen to? Avidya is agrahanam, which gives rise to what? Anyatha grahanam. And because this anyatha grahanam, in the form of feeling lowly about oneself, feeling bad about oneself, one cannot absolutely withstand. And so, therefore, more things are coming into the picture, kama and karma. So they have this jiva on a string. Forget that other string. The jiva is on the string operated by the puppeteers, avidya, kama, karma. They tell the jiva, you feel a sense of lack. Come on, go do something about it. Get a pedigree, if not get a degree, and do this. Go here, go there, accumulate this. Oh, you have accumulating is not helping? Okay, make a dramatic turnaround. Either give something up, get rid of certain things, accumulate, cultivate certain things. Like this, they keep the jiva like a cat dancing on a hot tin roof, completely out of control, and the jiva, guided by the script of avidya, kama, karma, continues to wallow in samsara. The more they want to come out of samsara, it is not possible. So upadishta disham sukha dukkhadhi lakshanam jagrit swapnayoho. Adi Shankara is so careful. Patitva, gatva, anubhuya ityarthaha. So then disham means what? In 2 states. What are the states? Jagrad avastha and swapna avastha. Why are these 2 highlighted? Because sukha dukkha bhoga is possible only in these 2 avasthas, no other place. In sleep, we already saw, in the analysis of sleep, there is samsara uparatihi, the cessation of samsara, characterized by sukha dukkha, is not there. The cessation of samsara alone is there. Sukha dukkha is not there. Samsara is not there. And so therefore, in the jagrad avastha, sukha dukkha is there, and in the swapna avastha, sukha dukkha bhogaha are there. And so falling in them, falling means out of a sense of helplessness, taking what comes. Because the more desperate one is, the more one settles for whatever little there is. And we make ourselves so weak and settle for anything that comes one's way, because there is a desperation. There is a desperation for acceptance. There is a desperation for validation. There is a desperate need for respect. And this makes one prey to dangerous situations sometimes. So anybody says, "Oh, you are wonderful," so finished. One is completely becomes a slave to that person, because feels enslaved by that situation or that person. And so therefore one is not able to have even that little bit of a inner space to look at the desperation with dispassion. That is all not there. And so therefore patitva, falling, failing, going around, and directed. And of course, if the gurus are avidya, kama and karma, what will the outcome be? More and more dukkha. And so patitva means gatva, going there, having experienced what? One disappointment after the other. Anyatra means sadakhyat svatmanah anyatra. And finally finds out there is no resting place. There is no location other than the truth of oneself. Finally, has to go back there, forcibly is made to return to the self. When? Every night, made to return to the self. Repeatedly, forcibly made to return to the self. Why? Because sadakhyat svatmanah anyatra. Other than one's own Atma, which is known as Sat here, anyatra, another, ayatanam, vishramanasthanam, alabdhva. So without not gaining any place of rest, because even in the world nowadays there are many, many places of rest. I saw something, the oxygen bar. Oxygen free, but here you go and sit there and pay for some pure oxygen which is coming from a cylinder. Oxygen bar, supposed to be very restful. And then there is some kind of a vacuum-like chamber. What is that called? Hyperbaric chamber. And people really get freaked out and want to be let out immediately, but supposedly it puts you in some kind of a zero gravity situation. But that also what? Temporary. Everything is temporary. And in the Jagat, there is no resting place, because the very Jagat is the cause of dukkha. So how can that be the cause of any kind of rest? In fact, the Jagat makes one engagement with the Jagat, starting with one's own body, mind, sense complex, makes one a hyper-vigilant mess. All the time looking around, what's happening, who is there, who is after me. This is how it is. It's not a restful place at all. So the rest is pratyagatma, alone the innermost self, that is alone the vishramanasthanam. So then, where does this jiva takes refuge? Pranena sarvakarya karana ashrayena upalakshitaha pranaha iti uchyate. And what is this prana? Sadakhya paradevata. So this prana, which is talked about as what? The prana that is spoken of as the refuge of all the senses. Earlier we saw the prana in the eyes and all of them take refuge in prana and rest in prana. So that prana, which was spoken of as the refuge of all the body parts and the senses, is really speaking what? Sat. So the prana is not just the function here, and it's interesting that the prana is used because the prana is seen as, another word for prana is sutratma. Sutratma is like a thread that goes in and through all living jantus, all living beings. The invisible thread that goes in and through all living beings, sutre maniganaha iva. So the pearl necklace we can appreciate. We can say, oh, how nicely the beads are matched and graded from small to big, etc. We can appreciate the necklace, but what do we not see? The string. This Laghu Vakya Vritti talks about this a lot, talks about this particular Drishtanta. So just like we don't see the string, but without the string there is no necklace, similarly the prana is the Sutratma of the entire Jagat of sentient beings. And then, so therefore, so that sutra is interesting because the bird is also tied to a string. The same kind of a analogy is carried out. And so, the same place where all the senses took rest, this prana alone is the place. And what is this prana? Para Devata, Sadakhya Devata. She is a goddess. This prana is goddess. So this goddess, which is called Sat, in that only one takes refuge. Although it looks like prana, the truth of prana is what? Sadakhya Devata. And then we see this in the Kenopanishad. Sa uppranasya pranaha. That which is the prana of the prana, that is what is being talked about. And a similar quote is there in the Brihadaranyaka also. Pranasya pranam. Brihadaranyake. So therefore, and one more quote is there from the Chandogya Upanishad, 3rd chapter, which is the Upasana portion. Prana shariraha bharupaha. Prana shariraha means that which has prana as its body. That which has prana for its body, which is what? Atma. Prana is not referred to here. Prana is only upalakshana for what? Atma. That which has the prana for its body, which is Atma. What is the nature of this Atma? Bharupaha. Bharupaha means what? Of shining nature, self-revealing nature. Free of papa, free of punya, free of sukha dukkha, the alternating cycles of pain, ecstasy, agony, all that, do not touch it at all. And we saw that quote also. Ananvagatam punyena, ananvagatam papena. And so this Atma is Bharupaha. This prana is, here also Atma is called prana. And so here prana again, there is a convention in the Shruti to see the prana as Atma. Ataha tam devatam pranam pranakhyam eva upashrayate. So they take refuge in so the jiva has its refuge, this Sadakhya Paradevata, known here as prana. And then what is that? So the mind is prana bound. We saw that. So if you want to calm down the mind, so you just watch the mind and then you watch the breathing, and immediately the mind calms down. It's a very effective technique. And so why? Because prano bandhanam yasya manaha tat prana bandhanam hi yasmat somya manaha prana upalakshita devata ashrayam manaha iti tad upalakshitaha jivaha. So on both sides there is upalakshana. What is that? The mind, jiva is known as the mind in this particular section, and Sadatma is known as what? Prana. But really the essence of it is what? Just that. All that is there is just Sat alone. And in Sat alone, even the Ajnani, sleeping Ajnani, is also what? One with Sat. And the Jnani sleeping is also one with Sat. What is the difference? Awakened Jnani is also one with Sat. That is the difference. Otherwise, the big difference between Jnani and Ajnani. And so, but the sleep is is a very important analysis here to show this, all these things that we have been seeing, the main contours of this argument, where the Ajnani's sleep becomes an important place of analysis, so that we can look at how and the reasons why the Ajnani sleeps, and we can see that there is a whole background of samsara there. So that samsara alone makes one go to sleep, and this endless samsara of endless means and endless ends, this is what is the cause of exhaustion, and therefore, and so it's much easier to know oneself as Sat. That is what is going to be talked about, and that is what is already hinted at. So then, now I'm going to summarize the rest of it till we go to the next section, because this is the section which is a very interesting section and well worth the study. If we had the time, it is very well worth the study. It illustrates one of the Shadlingas called Abhyasa. So up till now, what did we see? We saw something from the top down. The cosmology of creation started with Sat, and then Imaha Tisro Devataha, and from there all the Namarupe, Vyakaravani iti, all this we saw. Now, Uddalaka, with a sense of making his son, his disciple, son-turned disciple, into having this firm knowledge, does it the other way also. So, here in this section, the Namarupas are taken first, and various, accoutrements of the body, like the mind, the senses, etc. The senses go and resolve in the mind. The mind resolves where? We just studied prana. Prana resolves again in Sat. Like this, the other way is now talked about. Again, through the medium of these three devatas alone. And what are these three devatas? So, Annamayam hi manaha, apomayah pranaha, tejomayi vak. So, these three elements are still front and center, and using the elements, you reverse the course. You go from the Vyakritam Jagat to Sat. And then what does that achieve? That achieves a certain kind of a rigor in one's understanding and thinking. It is called Sthanu Nikandana Nyaya. In front of houses where some auspicious things are taking place, they put an awning of these leaves, and then 4 poles are erected, and then on top of that there is an awning, leafy awning, palm leaves, and then what else? Fruits, flowers, all these things are arranged to show that something auspicious is happening. So then when the poles are erected, then you have to first shake the pole repeatedly to see if it will hold that awning up. Because you can't have the people come, the child who is having Upanayanam, thread ceremony, come there and it crashes or something like that, you can't have. So it has to be strong, and any guest who is coming should not crash on their heads. So therefore, there is the shaking of the pole. 4 or 5 strong men purposely shake the pole back and forth, and if the pole is shaky, that means it needs more earth and more tamping down before the awning can be erected. This is called the maxim of the pole shaking, and Sthanu Nikandana Nyaya. And why is this important? The Sthanu Nikandana Nyaya is very, very important, because we see where there is a certain kind of a weakness in grasping the truth. Where is the weakness? Where is there that needs to be more Shravanam, more assimilation, more Mananam? Perhaps there are certain questions. Perhaps there is vagueness. Perhaps there is downright error in understanding. So all this has to be removed for clear understanding, and Uddalaka, interested in giving his son clear understanding, takes him again in and through the next section, takes him through this back way. Going from the Nama Rupas and going from again from one's own body back to the three elements, which are again going back to what? Sat. So in this way, giving some very nice examples, and one example is touched upon here in this section, and then after that it is developed in another section which we will not be studying. So there is the chronically ill person on the deathbed, and then what else? All the relatives have gathered, and they are all surrounding the bed. They are not interested in the dying person. What are they interested in? Property. So various relatives are there. The Jnati means relatives. Jnatayaha, all these relatives are there, and they hover around the poor person who is not even left to die in peace. And they say, what? Janasi Mam, Janasi Mam, do you know me? You know who I am? I am so-and-so's son. I am so-and-so's sister's daughter's something, all these some vague things. And here is the person gasping for breath perhaps, and the person who is just lying there. Do you remember when you needed money? I am the one who lent it to you. All these things they will keep on saying, the relatives. And then the Shruti says, so Janasi Mam, when the Jnati says, when the relatives say, do you know me, do you know me? The person will know as long as the speech has not rolled up and packed itself up into the mind. And the mind has packed up and gone to what? Gone into prana. The prana has packed up and gone into the three devatas. The three devatas have packed up and gone into Sat. So the whole dying process is also talked about in this section, because this is the brilliance of this whole sleep analysis, because what is death? Death is a longer sleep than this kind of a sleep. After sleep, does the jiva continue or not? Yes. Abba, finally the answer comes. So after sleep, the jiva continues, yes? After death, the jiva continues or not? Yes. That's why the final reason why this sleep analysis is such a long sleep analysis is very, very important, because it is also an analysis of what happens after the cessation of what we call prana, life. What happens? Very, very interesting. And so it's almost like Shvetaketu listens to this whole section and then has a question articulated by Bhashyakara, by Adi Shankara. So you say, O Bhagavaha, O revered sir, what did you say? You say that whether the person is Jnani or Ajnani, whoever the person is, or whether the person, whether it's even an animal, doesn't matter, all of them go to what? Sat alone. But then, what happens to them? They come back. They come back without knowing that they were one with Sat. Why is that? They are with Sat all the time, and they are with Sat specifically in sleep, because all other activities are not there to distract this oneness from this oneness. So they are there, and then if they are there, then what should be the outcome? I should know I am one with Sat. But they don't know. Why is it they don't know? Bhashyakara puts words in Shvetaketu's mouth and makes him to ask this question as a segue to the next section. And what is the next section? Something about bees. Am I correct? Yeah. So, Yatha Somya Madhu Madhukritaha Nistishtanti nanatyayana vrikshanam rasan samavaharam ekatam rasam gamayanti. Yeah. So, another illustration is given. And what is that illustration? Illustration of the honey. Honey illustration. And what does the honey illustration accomplish? Just like that, what does it say? Oh dear one, just like the madhukritaha. Madhukritaha means madhukaraha. The honey maker. Who is the honey maker? Bee. Just like the bee, what does the bee do? The bee, it makes honey by nana atyayanam vrikshanam. Atyayanam means in different places. So, it goes to the various trees, flowering trees, which are situated here, there, maybe, several kilometers away also. Who knows? They're in different places. So it collects the nectar of those flowers from different places and many flowers. And then what does it do? Then atyayana vrikshanam rasan samavaharam. Samavaharam means collection, gathering. So it gathers the juices and then takes it to the hive where what? There are small labels. Yeah? There are labels. Correct? Yeah. What are the labels? Rose, jasmine. Are there labels like that? Yeah. Mango blossom, cherry blossom. Labels are there? No. It just puts them all together. We, because we can, we cultivate the bees in certain ways by giving it only one particular kind of flower to gather the nectar, and then we can sell the honey, the resultant honey, which says what? Orange blossom honey, cherry blossom honey. But the bee is not aware of that. Neither is the cherry blossom think I am cherry blossom. No such thing. And so the honey comes from, the natural honey comes from various tastes, various flowers. Some sweet, some slightly sour, some pungent. So the nectar of the various flowers are gathered and taken to the hive. And where they are all mixed up. That is the idea. So vrikshanam samavaharam ekatam gatam. So they have gained oneness because the honey's action is to the bee's action is to make honey by gathering everything and mixing it up into one particular essence. So this is how the honey is made, by collecting from various trees and then making the various essence. And why are we talking about this? This is the illustration. The next mantra will explain. Te yatha tatra na vivekam labhante amushya aham vrikshasya rasaha asmi amushya aham vrikshasya rasaha asmi iti evameva khalu somya imaha sarvaha prajaha sati sampadya na viduhu sati sampadyamahe iti. So it is like this, where the trees, the nectar of the various flowers do not retain their identity. Not only do they not retain their identity, they have no particular self-awareness, especially after getting mixed up. Even let's say they had a human mind, after getting mixed up, it's all just one particular pot of honey, that is there. When the hive is squeezed, you just get the honey in one pot, and it's all a mix of various juices and various trees and flowers. And Adi Shankara in the Bhashya explains this very nicely. So he says that Vivekam na labhate. Vivekam na labhate means that they do not have this discernment. Viveka is discernment, that distinctive notion. What is the distinctive notion? Katham amushya aham amrasya rasaha asmi. I am mango blossom. Doesn't say that. One particular nectar doesn't say amrasya aham asmi rasaha, and then the other one doesn't say panasya va vrikshasya rasaha aham asmi iti. It doesn't say panaha means panas means jackfruit. So the jackfruit blossom nectar doesn't say I am from the jackfruit. The mango blossom does not say I am the mango blossom. And how and why is this being talked about? Vivekam na labhante. And Adi Shankara says yatha. Yatha means just as, but actually here unlike. This is a viparita drishtanta. Yatha means unlike, not like. Here, yatha means anyatha. Yatha hi loke, unlike even in the world, bahunam chetanavatam sametanam praninam vivekalabha bhavati amushya putraha aham amushya napta aham asmiti. ते च लब्धविवेकाः सन्तः न संकीर्तयन्ते. So therefore, what happens? So the flowers do not have any distinguishing ideas about themselves. I am from this tree, I am from this flower. All this they do not have, unlike the people who are what? Unlike pranis and various pranis, especially human beings, with free will, etc., they are all what? Labdha vivekaha santaha. They have an idea of their identity. So and so's daughter I am, so and so's son. My parents are belonging to the upper echelons of society. Or I am royalty. I am royalty. And did you bow to me? This is how the person is. And then the sankirtayate means they do not eat together sometimes. I belong to a high class, you are roadside riffraff. Why should I socialize with you? Like this, they have all the ideas of high and low, equal and unequal, superior and inferior, unlike the flowers which make the honey. So they have all these ideas, and then so even though whereas even though there are, this is not the case with the honey. Even though the juices with various tastes, including bitter, pungent, etc., is there, then once they have become a homogeneous whole, like what? Like the honey, no such distinction can be had. So this illustration, this is the case with all the prajaha. Prajaha means what? The people, all the subjects, all the creatures. What happens to them? Ahani sati sampadya sushuptikale maranakale pralayayoscha na viduhu na vijaniyuhu sati sampadyamahe sati sampanna itiva. So they don't understand. Even though these jivas are like this honey. So what do? They keep going. They're retaining their individuality. They still go together, and then even though they attain Sat, what happens? They do not have any kind of a idea that we are one with everything. That idea is not there at all. So even though they attain Sat regularly, as in what? Sleep, they are one with Sat. They don't know, I am one with Sat iti, they don't know. And then in death also, what do they attain? Sat alone they attain. This is a very beautiful segue. So Sat alone they attain, because death is again a longer sleep maybe, and so there also they attain that, but then there is no awareness. There is absolutely no awareness. No awareness of what? Having attained Sat. That they are one with Sat, they do not know, they are not aware of it. They don't think, and they don't say, we are one with the self, iti. They are not able to say that. So then what happens? Te iha vyagro va simho va vriko va varaho va कीटो वा पतंगो वा दंशो वा मशको वा यद् भवन्ति यद्यद् भवन्ति तद् आभवन्ति. Yeah, so here they could be anything, whatever they are. Like the various flowers, whatever they are what? Vyagrova. They are in the life form of the tiger. Simhova. Or they are a lion, in the form of a lion. Vrikova. Vrika means what? Wolf. In the form of a wolf. Varahova. Wild pig, boar. And then Kitova. What is Kita? Some kind of a lowly, crawling earthworm. Patangova, moth. Damshova, any other biting thing whose main aim in life is to bite you. So it's called biting, little biting thing. And then Mashaka. Mashaka means what? The mosquito. That is the thing. So all these may seem small, but they are all, what is that? Agents of karma phala exhaustion. So this Pujya Swamiji would always say that this person so brave and so, what is that, comes from a big warrior family. And then you go to their house and they have this Simhova, Vyagrova, they have the head mounted on the wall. And then seeing a mosquito, the fellow gets in a net, to save himself from the mosquito. Like that. So all these biting things, they don't know. What happens? Yadyad bhavanti, whatever they were when? Before this life, whatever they were in that life, they come back again and again into the same form or similar form. In that jati, same jati. Vyagra might become Simha. One biting thing might become another biting thing. But more or less, they are in the same jati. And what are they doing? They are just repeatedly coming and going in the same body as in the same lifetime. How do they come and go? To and from Sat. In sleep, they are one with Sat. Again, they are always one with Sat, but in sleep they have exclusive status of Sat, becoming one with Sat, without the upadhi bheda. But then, yad bhavanti, tad abhavanti. Abhavanti means whatever they were, they continue with that. They become that only. And even between lifetimes, it's the same situation. Same exact situation. In between two lifetimes also, what happens? The same thing happens. You go to Sat, you spend a little time, and then you come back. What? Business as usual. Same ajnanam. Ajnani went, ajnani came back. What is the point of life after life after life? No point. That is the idea. No point at all. So, if this knowledge is not gained, that is the whole crux of this. This is where the discussion is going. If this knowledge is not gained, what comes is yad bhavanti tad abhavanti. Whatever the person was, the person continues to accrue karma. Already Sanchita is huge. We thought Brahman is infinite, but Sanchita karma bank account is also infinite. Infinite karma. Oh, how can we have two infinites? Fortunately, one is mithya. So we can have mithya sanchita infinite. Mithya infinite. Infinite numbers of karmas waiting to fructify. And no, don't worry, even if one has the most complicated karma, a new life form will be made just for that person to exhaust that particular karma. Just for that person. And now, even now, people are finding out, all the scientists in marine biology, etc., they are finding all these deep sea creatures. Where were they? Nobody knows. Whether we are finding them out now or whether they are newly adapted species for certain things, we don't know. And so they look really funny because they don't have eyes, they don't need eyes, they are deep in the sea. What will they do with eyes? There is no light. But they look really funny because they are all iridescent and they have to recognize one another for the sake of propagation, for the sake of preservation. They have to recognize predators, they have to recognize their own species. And so for that purpose, they have some very flamboyant colors, iridescence, certain characteristics. So they glow in the dark. They bring their own torch in the form of their bodies. And so like this, all these, so many creatures. And even now, new creatures and new species of plants, everything is being done. So then they become helpless, these life forms become what? And the jivas identified with them become helplessly thrown around from one life to another, one life form to another. The life form becomes a means of exhausting papa, exhausting karma, punya also. So exhausting papa punya, the life form is a mechanism, is a nimitta for the karma to be exhausted. And is the karma ever exhausted? Absolutely not. The person is exhausted, all right. The karma is never exhausted because it is endless. Endless karma phala, wallowing in these endless life forms where one cannot even register a complaint. The tiger cannot complain. What are you doing with my habitat? One more development you are developing. Where will I go? Poor thing, it cannot register a complaint. A zoo tiger cannot say, what is this? I'm not on show. I'm a I'm a big cat. I'm one of the kings of the jungle. Cannot say. And so trapped in this karma body, where the body itself, the body mind sense complex itself, becomes an avenue to eke out that karma, to exhaust that karma. Helplessly they keep coming and going into either the same body, if we are talking of sleep, or some other body just like that, like this whole bunch of bodies is given, if we are talking of in between lifetimes, longer sleep. So therefore, this answers the question that Bhashyakara raised for who? Shvetaketu. This answers the question. What is the question? What happens? Why do they not know that they are Sat? They do not know. They do not know, just like the various trees which are going into one pot, the nectar of various bushes and flowers, they do not know. Why? Because they are one with in the form of honey. Similarly, all these life forms do not know that I am one with Sat. Why? Because it takes a particular upadhi the human upadhi, it takes a particular kind of a adhikaritvam. It takes daivanugraham to have to even have manushyatvam. Because you see, in all these, the human birth is not talked about. Because Adi Shankara in the Bhashya said, the human beings have that viveka, I am separate from you. But that is of not much use there, but still that some viveka is there, some wrong identity is there. But here, they are just going and coming in various kinds of life form after life form after life form. They don't have any such impetus. So all these praja means the creatures, all these jivas, they just come and go. Oh, but we are just talking of Simbhova, Varahova, Vrikova, Damshova, Kitova. We are not talking of me. No such luck. Shruti is talking about oneself alone. Who is that person? The person studying the Shruti alone is talked about. And who is studying the Shruti? Not Vyagra. Vyagra is not being told you are Vyagrova, Simhova, Kitova, Varahova, Vrikova. No, it's not for those life forms. Those life forms are free. They are free of self-judgment and self-critique. So who is this whole trajectory of life after life is being talked about? For me. So that I can come out of the stupor of Atma Ajnanam and see that this is going to be my fate, where I can't even register a complaint if I don't use the buddhi that was given to me in this time around. People have this idea, it is wrong. Now, what is the idea? People have this idea that once a human being, you will always be a human being. Hello, this is not Darwinian theory of evolution. This is the karmic theory, where there is both evolution and devolution also. Depends on the karma. Depends on the karma. And so many such examples are there, where the human being then becomes an animal. Like Jada Bharata had to spend one lifetime as a deer, because he was overly fond of that deer. And so like this, so many examples are there. So there is a downward trend also if the buddhi is not used to what? To understand that whether in sleep or in waking, I am what? One with this Sat. One with this Sat. And you can go this way or that way. You can say everything has come from this Sat, and this Sat, in the form of myself alone, the conscious being, has entered into and created, manifested this whole, what is that? Devatas in the form of fire, water, etc. Fire, water, earth. Or you can say that starting with this body, everything goes back to Sat. That way also you can say this way, that way, doesn't matter which way, but the understanding has to be there. Otherwise, this whole life is a wasted life. Doesn't matter, so many lives have wasted, one more life, what is there? People think like this. And then people will also say, will you please be my guru in my next life? This is the human tendency to reserve. To make reservation, advanced reservation. Yeah. And so, therefore, this whole section is to give a certain urgency to the pursuit, because it is an urgent pursuit. And don't bank on the next life, because the next life, what is that? Vyagrova, Simbhova, Varahova, Vrikova, Kitova, Damshova, Mashakova. Something or the other. You don't know what it's going to be. Next life. The next life, they say, oh, the last desire will constitute the next life. No, not the last desire. The strongest desire. The strongest desire is there at the end. That's why one is told, please think of Bhagavan at the end of life. And what does the jiva say? Oh, at the end of life, not now. That kind of a complacency if we have, we don't know when the end is going to come. So therefore what? All the time, be in prayer. That is the idea. All the time be in prayer. And the Hindus thought of a lovely loophole. Yeah. What is that loophole? Yeah. Name the child Narayana. Yeah. Sri Lakshmi. So many things. You can name the child itself Bhagavan, Bhagavati's names. Except what? Narayana is a long name to call one's son. Short form Nanu. Okay. Yeah. So at the deathbed, Narayana will not come out. What will come out? Nanu will come out. Yeah. So, like this, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also talks about the urgency of this pursuit in the Gargi Yajnavalkya dialogue. Sage Gargi has been entrusted with the task of creating a sabha of erudite scholars, sages. And so she is vetting all these people with these questions. There are a group of sages who are vetting all these new entrants. And then in Yajnavalkya she meets her match. So she asks a very tricky question: who is the stingiest person in the whole world? And one would think the one who doesn't give donation, the one who doesn't work for the betterment of society, the one who doesn't share, the one who only cooks for oneself. You could think of numerous answers, but Yajnavalkya's answer tops it all off. What does he say? Yaha atmanam aviditva asman lokam praiti bhogargi saha kripanaha. The stingiest person is the one who departs this world without knowing the truth of oneself. Why? What does that have to do with the stingy thing? Have not expended the brain cells, has not used the buddhi, has been very stingily hoarding the buddhi. And that is the sad, stingy person. Very sad. And so, let that not be the case. That is why all these outcomes are given. And it is not a surprise that the human being is not in this medley of all the animals that are being talked about, because whatever these creatures are there, whether to going into deep sleep, they come back in the same form, or whether they go from what? From deep sleep to death, then also they come back in the same form. We'll see more tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.